Dragon Ball Super officially takes place between the defeat of Majin Buu and the end of Z. The current manga is finally reaching this timeline, which opens the door for the next saga to adapt or expand the end of Z with much more depth. How much time is left until the release of this saga, which opens and closes many paths in Dragon Ball at the same time? What still needs to happen for this moment to finally arrive in Dragon Ball Super, and for Ub to finally fight alongside the Z Warriors? Want to know this and much more? Come with me. I'm already asking for your subscription to the channel, your like, and for you to activate the bell. Guys, I also ask that you share this video with a friend. That helps us a lot. Ever since the conclusion of the Majin Buu saga in Dragon Ball Z, fans have been nurturing a desire that still hasn't been fully satisfied: the connection between the end of Z and the greatness of Dragon Ball Super. The end of Z saga, or YoZ, has always been a symbolic milestone, a passing of the torch to a new generation, with Goku taking up to train and inherit the legacy of Earth's protector. But with the revelations of Super, new transformations, new power levels, the rise of enemies greater than Frieza or Cell, the question remains: could the end of Z saga now finally become a reality, connecting Z and Super in an epic arc that solidifies the true future of Dragon Ball? To answer that, we need to understand where Super is positioned in relation to Z. Official sources like Bulma stated that Super takes place between Buu and the epilogue of Z, in the 10 years before the UB tournament. She mentions that Goku went 5 years without seeing his family, which matched the old series setup. However, as the manga progressed, that timeline was stretched. Arcs like Moro's and Universe 6 and 7's brought Goku and Vegeta's power to such a level that imagining them interacting with Ub, still a child, became complicated. Characters like Pan, Trunks, and Goten remain, but don't dominate the spotlight that the end of Z arc required. At the same time, the release of Dragon Ball Daima, set between the end of Z and the beginning of Super, opens temporal and conceptual gaps that make the chronology more flexible, introducing elements like the Shadow Dragon Balls and the Demon Realm, which seem to resonate with GT themes and further expand the multiverse. The end of Z, or the end of Dragon Ball Z, refers to the final 2 episodes of the anime Dragon Ball Z, episodes 289 and 290, and also to the last 2 chapters of Akira Toriyama's original manga, chapters 518 and 519. It takes place 10 years after Majin Buu's defeat and serves as an epilogue to the classic Dragon Ball Z storyline. At this point in the plot, the world has been at peace for a decade, and the characters are older. Goten and Trunks are now teenagers, Pan is 4 years old, and Goku appears to be living a peaceful life with his family. However, a new martial arts tournament is about to begin, and the story focuses on the introduction of Ub, the human and good-hearted reincarnation of Majin Buu, who was born as a humble boy. Goku recognizes Ub's hidden potential and decides to leave with him to train him personally, believing he will become the next great defender of Earth. The ending shows Goku flying away with Ub to begin this training, making it clear that he sees the boy as a successor. Ub has already appeared in the Dragon Ball Super manga, and his participation, although still brief, is extremely important. He appears at the end of the Moro saga, and what he does there shows the enormous potential he has, in addition to directly connecting the manga to the events of the end of Z. During the climax of the battle against Moro, when Goku is on the brink of defeat, the Z Warriors need energy to help him activate his final form and defeat the villain. That's when the Daikaishin, the Grand Supreme Kai, intervenes and explains that there is someone on Earth with an absurd amount of divine energy, even without being aware of it. That someone is Ub, still an innocent child, living in a remote village. Even without knowing how to use Ki, Ub provides a huge amount of divine energy, which the Daikaishin channels into Goku. That energy is enough for Goku to reach a new peak in battle and finally defeat Moro. In other words, even without fighting or knowing what he was doing, Ub saves the galaxy with his latent power, and more importantly, it becomes clear to the gods and to Goku that he is someone special, with potential beyond comprehension. This lays the groundwork so that in future sagas, Goku goes after him and begins training him personally, as we saw in the end of Z. This moment shows that Ub already exists in the Dragon Ball Super canon, and that he possesses divine energy inherited from the original Buu and the Daikaishin. His power was essential for the victory against Moro. Furthermore, it's clear that he has a destiny tied to the gods, and to Goku, that is still to come. And what better moment for this meeting, now that Goku has kind of hit a plateau with Ultra Instinct and can now train someone who possesses such divine energy. But the central point is this: Super has become so grand that the end of Z arc is no longer just about uniting the new cycle of Goku and Ub. It could also be the starting point of what now seems to be the true Dragon Ball, considering the moment where Goku, Vegeta, Gohan, Piccolo, Broly, and Frieza are at their current peak and still searching for more power, and the universe is populated by gods, androids, Saiyans from multiple universes, beings that make Dragon Ball seem too small. In this context, the end of Z Saga can be the space to tie Dragon Ball Z and Super together, where every narrative thread meets and stabilizes. Before exploring how this could happen, it's worth discussing what End of Z represents to many fans. The community has a clear vision, as defined by one Reddit post on the subject, open quotes. End of Z is like 2 chapters with a time jump after the Buu saga showing older characters along with a going off with Goku. Close quotes. It's a quick epilogue that closes the Buu chapter and makes it clear who the protector will be after Goku. In another discussion, someone argues that surpassing the End of Z would open the way for an arc where real consequences can exist, definitive deaths, tough choices, active participation of a new generation. I just want to see how they incorporate events of Super into the EOZ tournament, and there's actual stakes again. The main cast can't die in DBS because they're in the End of Z. That point is crucial. The traditional End of Z arc is stagnant. It doesn't bring risk, drama, or urgency. Meanwhile, Super has brought levels of tension that weren't imaginable 10 years ago. So, the possibility of expanding the End of Z arc between Super and Z is to make excellent what was once only symbolic. And that's where the name End of Z comes in, as a new saga, which effectively ties the 2 products together and kicks off a new phase, a true Dragon Ball, focused on parents, children, tournaments, training, legacy, and transformation. And this needs to happen now, with Goku, Vegeta, Broly, Piccolo, Gohan, and even Frieza at a new power level. And this is the best time. To give a time skip, make Broly stronger by training with Beerus and Goku and Vegeta on Earth, since they came back recently and didn't even call Broly. Something will happen there that neither Whis nor Beerus will be able to go to Earth to watch the tournament. And this is because Broly awakens something that draws so much attention from both that they won't go to Earth for a while. And Vegeta no longer depends on Goku to use instant transmission either, so they've already given that to Vegeta, which makes the arrival of End of Z easier. Imagine that taking shape, with the closure of the superhero arc, where Piccolo and Gohan gain their own transformations. Orange and Beast Mode. Everyone is already stronger. Goku is fully adapted to Ultra Instinct, although he's plateaued, and discovered something while fighting Gohan. In the Dragon Ball Super manga, Gohan lands a punch so powerful on Goku that it forces him out of Ultra Instinct and back to base form, and it happens in a very direct and impactful way. This scene happens in Chapter 103 of the manga, during a friendly training match between the two, after the events of the Dragon Ball superhero movie were canonized. At that moment, Goku and Gohan are testing their new limits. Goku activates complete Ultra Instinct with silver hair, while Gohan enters his new transformation, Gohan Beast, the same one he awakened against Cell Max. This transformation is instinctive, brutal, and based on pure concentrated emotion and absolute control of his hybrid power as a human and Saiyan. During the fight, Goku comes in with speed, using his fluid precision of Ultra Instinct, but Gohan not only keeps up but reads Goku's movements aggressively, which surprises his father. At one point, Gohan delivers a direct blow, a devastating punch to Goku's stomach. The impact is so intense that Goku is thrown back and immediately loses the Ultra Instinct transformation, reverting to base form. He's panting, not mortally wounded, but clearly surprised and impressed. This break in the transformation shows 2 important things. First, that Gohan has enough raw strength to affect a full Ultra Instinct user, which is rare, since that form dodges blows before they're even felt. Gohan's fighting style, based on intense emotion and aggressive focus, can break the calm and fluid rhythm necessary to maintain Ultra Instinct. In other words, the impact wasn't just physical, but also psychological and strategic. Goku, after recovering from the punch, praises Gohan with a smile, saying that he is now strong enough to protect Earth even if Goku isn't around. That line reinforces the symbolism of the moment, Gohan finally stepping into a prominent role as a complete warrior, not just a scholar or the hero's son. As for Vegeta mastering his Ultra Ego and Broly gaining emotional control after the movie, and Frieza exploring his full power with his black transformation and new strategic attacks, he can finally be a reluctant ally against immense threats. Pan and the children are already developing warriors, with their own training. Whis and Beerus have realized the need to strengthen Goku, Vegeta, and Broly to face something greater, perhaps a rogue god of destruction or a monstrous form of dark energy, connected to Dragon Ball Daima and the multiverse. Everything converges toward a gigantic arc. And the direction of the story could be like this. Goku and Vegeta finally realize they're not enough, remembering what we said at the end of the Moro arc. If Goku stopped here, he would have become a bigger threat than you can imagine. Then new training begins, one with a surpassing Super Saiyan Blue level, another with Broly, who is already on Beerus' planet to train with Whis and Beerus. Meanwhile, Gohan, motivated by his new powers, decides to train even more with Piccolo. Maybe Vegeta is with them, training to defend himself from Gohan, and thus mastering Ultra Ego, or simply returning to Beerus' planet to train Broly, which would be totally plausible since he also has instant transmission. But he would have to stay on Earth for a while until the end of Z arc begins. As for the Great Emperor Frieza, training in his black form and beginning his own training, maybe Goku will train with Ub in the Room of Spirit and Time. That's another possibility too. This script embodies the fusion between Super and the end of Z, the true next chapter of Dragon Ball, and it would open powerful narrative opportunities. As for the question, when could this happen? Super ended its anime in 2018, but the manga continued until 2024, with the Galactic Patrol Prisoner arc and the superhero movie. In February 2025, a superhero prequel one-shot was released, keeping interest alive. Continuity now seems almost guaranteed. If the end of Z Saga is the next big step, it could debut still in 2025, with the possible return of the manga, giving time to prepare the crossover, train Frieza, Broly, and Vegeta, build threats, and close out the classic Z elements with Super's battles. The next arcs are essential for this. Imagine the sequence: Dragon Ball Super, end of Z Saga. 50 episodes focused on this period where the true Dragon Ball emerges, the strongest warriors of all time, with epic training, climactic battles, Ub and Pan starring in powerful and decisive moments. The series would turn this arc into what fans have long requested, a phase with real stakes, possible deaths, grudges, legacies, and a world finally breathing danger. This saga would legitimize Ub as the new hero, but celebrate Goku and Vegeta as the legends who continue until the end. Likewise, it would clean up the timeline. Super becomes the preparation for End of Z. After that, the story follows a single line, uniting classic Z and current Super. The fact that this opens space for special formats, international arcs, training sessions divided by planets, even mini-sagas based on multiversal events, something close to a blend between GT's epic feel and Super's tense action. Of course, everything still depends on what Toyotaro will do. But the elements are there. The setup of Ub training, Broly's development, Frieza approaching the heroes, Gohan having regained calm protagonism in Superhero, and the growing discussion around true stakes, as they say in Reddit discussions, when suggesting that after Super, End of Z becomes more real. Moreover, a new saga would open space to revisit elements from Daima and GT as parallel realities or branches, without contradicting the main chronology. In the End of Z arc, there could be mentions of shadow realms, hidden wishes, and connections that only the multiverse now allows, distancing from the idea that GT happened in the main timeline. The current flexibility allows End of Z to be treated as a Magna episode of Super and, at the same time, a gateway to a Dragon Ball 2.0. The rejection many had when Super tried to continue after Z was justified. The heroes were too weak. But today, Goku, Vegeta, Broly, Piccolo, and Frieza are far too strong, ready to face challenges beyond mortal. And if the End of Z is Goku lifting off with Ub, the true End of Super could be all the heroes returning to the starting point, now at an extremely high level, kicking off the definitive true Dragon Ball.